we're live.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Quarantine Kitchen. My name is Chef Taylor, and today we're going to be making a simple recipe of rice and beans. Rice and beans is arguably the king of all cheat meals, and definitely one that you should keep up your sleeve and always have the ingredients on hand for. Rice and beans is a cultural staple throughout the Americas and the Caribbean, which means the possibilities for customization are endless. Even without the addition of other ingredients, rice and beans is a complete protein, which means that you can provide your family with solid nutrition from ingredients that last a long time in your pantry. Today, we'll be making a version that leans toward the style of the American South. Traditionally in Southern cooking, we would start with green bell peppers, celery, and onions. But I don't have green bell peppers because bell peppers can be expensive, so I'm going to use a mild jalapeno instead, and you guys are just going to have to get over it. First, preheat your oven to 375 degrees. We're going to start with white rice. I prefer jasmine rice because it gets nice and fluffy once it's cooked. We just need to remember to rinse it thoroughly to remove any excess starch. Next, we're going to use canned black beans, the preferred bean in Brazil because I ate all the kidney beans. Next, we're going to do some spices. Cayenne pepper for kick and paprika to mimic the appearance of dirty rice. Traditionally, dirty rice would use chicken livers, but I don't usually have those in my fridge, so I'm going to skip that part. If you've got them, go for it. Finally, we're going to use chicken stock instead of just plain water to enhance the flavor. If you don't have chicken stock, try using chicken bouillon powder or chicken base. If you don't have either of those, that's okay. Use water and just remember to season your dish with plenty of salt and pepper. Now that we have all of our ingredients and our equipment ready to go, let's get started. Let's start by washing the rice. We're going to do this to get all the excess starch off of there so the rice doesn't get mushy after it's cooked. Put it in the bowl. Run some cold water over it. Stir it up with your hand. And then dump it through a mesh strainer. And repeat this process 3 times until the water from the rice runs clear. We're going to set that aside, saute all of our vegetables, and then we'll come back for that after all the water is drained off. Next, we're going to start cutting all of our vegetables. Make sure to use a sharp knife so that you don't accidentally cut yourself. Don't worry too much about the size of your cuts. Nobody's going to judge you at home. Next, we'll do the garlic. I like to crush my garlic with the flat side of the blade first so that I can get a more uniform chop. We're going to saute the onions and the garlic together, so we're going to put them in the same bowl. And then we're going to do our jalapeno. Be careful with this part because the insides of the jalapeno can be pretty spicy and you don't want to get that in your eyes. If you've got gloves at home, go ahead and use them. Or you can do the right thing and save them for a medical professional. Cut out the seeds and this membrane in here and discard those. Finally, we're going to cut the celery. I like to have a few bigger chunks of the celery just so that I can get a little bit of crunch out of every bite that I take. Heat your pan up over medium heat and then add your olive oil to it. If it ripples when you shake the pan, you know it's hot and ready. First, add your onions and your garlic to the pan. Move it around just a little bit to coat the vegetables in oil. We're going to gently saute this until the edges are just starting to brown and you can smell the garlic throughout the house. This process will usually take about 3 minutes. Take your time with this whole process and really make sure that you're sweating your vegetables and getting the color that you want. If you're starting to get too much color and they turn black, turn your heat down or pull your pan off the stove. We're really building layers of flavor here by doing the onions and the garlic first, and then we'll add the celery and the jalapeno so that they don't get too cooked and mushy. I never do any cooking without my trusty Star Wars spatula. Now, as you can see, we're starting to get some color, little golden brown edges on the onions and the garlic. That's how we know we're ready to add our celery and our jalapenos. This is the part that takes my mind off of all the stress going on, you know, where I can just focus on this right here, and we don't have to worry about any of the craziness going on outside the house. We're just focusing on delicious food, easy to make, and eating it together when we're done. I love that sound, I love the smell. It's filling up the whole house, just smells like onions and celery. And right about now would be the perfect time for another cocktail. Now that our celery and our jalapeno are about halfway cooked, it's the perfect time to add our spices and kind of let them toast in the pan. Cayenne, it's going to give us a little bit of spice, and the paprika for that dirty rice look. Also take this opportunity to add some salt. And don't be shy about it. We got to season quite a bit of rice and beans. Next, we'll add our rinsed rice. Add it to the pan to kind of toast the grains. That sizzling is just from the extra water from when we were rinsing it, and it'll evaporate off in a minute. After we've toasted our rice for a minute or two, we'll add our can of beans. Always drain off the liquid from your beans and just give the beans a rinse to take off any excess moisture. We don't want any excess water in the recipe because it'll throw off the water to rice ratio and we might end up with mushy rice. So drain your beans before you add them to the pan. Incorporate that in there. And right about now would be a good time to add some optional ingredients that I've listed in the recipe down in the description below, but I'm not going to include here. Add a few squirts of Worcestershire sauce, Tabasco, Cajun seasoning, or any cooked meat that you might want to add to this recipe now, like chicken, pork, sausage, or shrimp. Now finally, we're going to add our chicken stock. We did 1 cup of jasmine rice, rinsed it, let it drain, and now we're going to add 1.5 cups of chicken stock. The ratio is very important when cooking rice because each type of rice has a different water to rice ratio. For jasmine rice, you always want to use 1.5 cups of water to 1 cup of rice. Stir that up, get all the good seasoning off the bottom of the pan. We're going to let this stock come to a simmer, and then we're going to cover it with a lid and finish it in the oven. Set your timer for 45 minutes and let it work its magic. If you don't have a pan with a lid, you can transfer the whole mixture to a glass Pyrex casserole dish and cover it with aluminum foil and then put it in the oven. Now our 45-minute timer has gone off and it's time to see if the rice is cooked. To check if the rice is cooked, pull it back and see if there's any water remaining in the bottom. If the bottom is dry, you know your rice is done. If there's still water in there, then put the lid back on and put it back in for another 5 minutes and check it again. The last thing to do before eating would be to fluff the rice up with a fork to allow any excess steam to escape and prevent our rice from overcooking as it sits. That's good. Now that everything's done, it's time to eat. If you have any leftovers, heat them up for breakfast and put an over-easy egg on top. It's perfect. Thank you for watching this episode of Quarantine Kitchen, and tune in next time where we'll show you how to make French onion soup. Like and comment below, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on social media to get updates on all of our future recipes.